on the Vince Everett Ellison Show. I got proof that Donald Trump watches our show. He took the Martin Luther King monument out of the Oval Office. Yes, he did, y'all. We're going to talk about that today on the Vince Everett Ellison Show. All right, let's get this thing started. Man, I missed this, but I finally caught up to it. And when I saw it, I just thoroughly enjoyed reading the whole story. Donald Trump, and I told you I got proof that DT watches this show or somebody close to him because Martin Luther King, because Donald Trump did what I've been asking him to do for a very, very long time, and that is to get the bust of that communist traitor, Martin Luther King Jr., out of the Oval Office. And now it's gone. Yeah, it's gone. And I'm going to tell you all about it in just a moment. But first, I want to talk about what has happened in the past week. I had a great time at a Turning Point USA conference. It was the students' conference down in Tampa, Florida. It was a great event. Charlie Kirk is legendary. He's smart. He's a go-getter. He's very, very young. And also BLEXIT. And BLEXIT, y'all, is a black organization affiliated with Turning Point USA. BLEXIT was started by Candace Owens about 10 years ago. And it was the idea and the brainchild of this young man by the name of Pierre Wilson. Pierre is a very, very intelligent, very, very humble, very, very intelligent, hard-charging black man that came up with this idea. And it's a offshoot from that from the word Brexit, when Great Britain was exiting and leaving the EU, and they had to vote on it. And this was a real big controversial thing about 10 years ago, about 2016, 2015. And, there was a big contest in Great Britain regarding whether or not Britain should stay in the EU. And Britain says, no, we want our own identity. The EU is destroying British culture. They're bringing too many illegals over here. We want out. And we don't want to have the EU or the euro as our money. We want the English pound. We want to have our own currency and all of that. So they voted to leave the EU, and they called the movement Brexit. Well, Pierre came up with a very, very smart idea, and he decided that the black community needed to leave the Democratic Party. And he called that BLEXIT, black exit. Brexit was British exit. BLEXIT is black exit from the Democratic Party. And Candace Owens was the spokesperson, and Pierre was behind the scene guy. They put this together. And of course, now I've gotten affiliated with it through Turning Point USA. And we had this great conference down there. You'll be seeing the speech that I made at the Brexit event. But I met Charlie Kirk. I'd been on Charlie's show a few times, and Charlie and I have gone through some things together. And Charlie has my back, I got Charlie's back. But we never really met physically. We've talked, we've interviewed, but we never met physically. So this was the first time that I got a chance to meet Charlie. Have it on film. You can see it now.
You had my back, but no one else did.
I didn't know you. And so after meeting Charlie, and he's a rock star when he goes to these events. Everybody wants to meet him. Everybody wants to see him. He carved out a little time for me. We talked, and we're going to keep working in the future. I also had an opportunity to meet the legendary Roger Stone. If you don't know Roger Stone, you don't know politics in America over the past 50 years. Roger Stone got started with Barry Goldwater back in 1964. He was involved with Richard Nixon. He was involved in Ronald Reagan. He was involved in George Bush. He was involved in Donald Trump. He's been involved in Republican politics in some shape, form, or fashion for the past 50 years, seriously. And the cool thing about Roger is that you either hate Roger or you love Roger. If Roger is your friend and he's on your side, you love Roger Stone. if Roger Stone is not your friend and you're on the other side, you hate Roger Stone, because Roger is a stone cold killer when it comes to politics. So I've heard of Roger Stone my whole life, but I also knew that Roger Stone was a man of impeccable taste in dress. So Roger Stone was known to be like the best dressed man in America. It's just well known. He and Tucker used to have a year-ending thing on his show, on Tucker's show when Tucker was on Fox. Well, Roger would come on, and Roger would grade the best dressed man in America. And because, Roger was the guy that knew about that kind of thing. So anyway, I meet Roger Stone, walk up to Roger and said, Roger Stone, good to meet you, man. And I had on this suit. I had on a Brioni suit. Y'all have seen it before. It was the one I wore, and I did the interview with Tucker last year, and I think I've worn it on the show a couple of times. Shook Roger's hand, and Roger said, man, you are looking great, da-da-da. He said, Roger, thank you. I said, you're the best dressed man in America. He said, no. Stand beside you. I now acquiesce. I'm the second best dressed man in America. You're the best dressed man in America. And I said, Roger Stone, you just gave me the greatest compliment I've ever had to come from Roger Stone. But Roger's a gentleman. And then I looked watched Roger's Twitter feed. He actually had the picture of me and him on his Twitter feed saying, great tailoring at TPUSA, and he and I standing there together. So got a chance to meet the legendary Roger Stone. Got a chance to be in the green room with Stephen Davis, the great John Amachukwa, Brandon Tatum, who's just an awesome gentleman. Brandon is just got a great podcast, great show. My good friend and my brand manager, April Chapman, was there. April interviewed Pierre Wilson. My friends, it was a great event. It gives me hope for the future. Many of the people there came up to me and thanked me for having written my books and doing this podcast and elevating and educating them. And of course, I also told them that I learned a lot from them. I watched their content, and I appreciate them. So we're all working together, along with you, to bring the conservative message to America, and also to Black America in particular, because we are letting people know that the Democratic Party is a party of perverts, liars, psychopaths, and anti-Christian bigots, thugs, hoes, and rappers. The whole convention was full of great people from all over the world. I met this gentleman. We sat down and had a conversation, and at the end, I asked him, what did he do? He said, I'm from the Bulgarian parliament. And I was just amazed that somebody from Bulgaria was there, from the parliament. We conversed. It was really a grand event. Tucker Carlson spoke. John Jr. spoke. Pete Hegseth spoke. And they also showed the premiere of the documentary Race War that I'm in. And we had a discussion on stage, a panel discussion, talking to the crowd about that. It was very well received. Got a standing ovation. And of course, I'm in Race War. I'm just happy and elated to be in Race War. And I believe that much of what we've done here and what is happening on the internet now and the podcasts that are coming after what I've written has a lot to do with what Donald Trump has just done in the Oval Office. And that is removing the bust of Martin Luther King Jr. from the Oval Office. Charlie Kirk and I got into some trouble. Yeah, this was about a year and a half ago. On King's birthday, when he had me come on his show and talk about the real MLK. And here's the thing, the people didn't get mad. Well, the people didn't refute what I said. Nobody said Vince Ellison is lying. Nobody said Vince Ellison is wrong. They got mad at me for saying it. Isn't that something? Everybody said, you don't want to say you're trying to destroy Martin Luther King Jr. legacy. What legacy? Legacy of hoe chasing? Being a communist? being a traitor. And you know what I said? I said, if you wanted Martin Luther King Jr. to march from New York to California, you didn't have to give him any money. Just he'd have made it on just hoes and liquor alone. And I bet you Donald Trump has seen those new King files, and when he read them, he said, man, get that bust out of here. I bet he read or listened to my podcast, maybe read some of my books and said, get that bust out of here. Because his first administration, he kept it in there. Now, why did he move it? So I'm going to read you a story from USA Today. And this is kind of an old story. This story was, what's this, June 17th, 2025. So it's about a month ago. So I was late to the game, man. I saw something on Facebook. I said, they lying. And as I went to check it out and I found this, I said, well, they telling the truth. Isn't that something? So this is the title of the story. It says, Martin Luther King Jr. for Winston Churchill. Trump changes up Oval Office decor. It starts by saying President Barack Obama moved the Martin Luther King Jr. bust into the Oval Office in 2009. Trump kept it during his first term, but now it's gone. All right. I ain't going to read too much of this. I'm going to give you guys the gist of it, what USA Today says about it. It says, a bronze bust of the Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. placed in the Oval Office by former President Barack Hussein. He didn't put Hussein in there, but I said Barack Hussein Obama has been moved out. The bust of the famed civil rights leader now sits in President Donald Trump's private dining room, steps away from the Oval Office, a White House official confirmed to USA Today. Should be in the garbage can. In a room where he holds private meetings and lunches with senior staff and is a part of various changes, It says during Trump's first term in office, the bust of the civil rights leader, first installed by Obama in 2009, held a prominent place in the Oval Office. Also, the returning of the Oval Office, a bust of Winston Churchill. Winston did some good, man. Winston held out against the Nazis when they had taken France and all the rest of Europe, and it was just Winston and Hitler. And Hitler told them to surrender. Winston said, no. Y'all need to watch that movie, The Darkest Hour. Winston Churchill said, we'll fight them on the beaches, we'll fight them in the hills, we'll fight them we'll fight them everywhere, but we will never surrender. Trump brought back the bust of the former Prime Minister of the United Kingdom by Sir Jacob Epstein in the Oval Office on January 20th, his first day as president. Trump was fulfilling a promise he made after his election and returning the Churchill bust to the place it was prominently displayed during his first term, according to America's National Churchill Museum. So I've been telling people about King. I started writing about him in my first book, The Iron Triangle. Book Authority gave Iron Triangle number 61 on the greatest political books ever written in the history of the world. That's right. And in it, I talked about King. I talked about how America right now seems to be celebrating him, but what are you celebrating? God's failure. Or is he a success? You celebrate things that are successful. So in the eyes of the political left and the Democratic Party, King was a stone cold success. And every black minister that they have in the Democratic Party now, they want to make sure that he is a replica of Martin Luther King. They want to make sure that he's a drunk, he's a hoe chaser, he's a Marxist, he's an anti-Christian bigot, and he's a traitor to America. And all of these guys that hold up the mantle of king are exactly that. From Jesse Jackson now to Jamal Bryant, to Al Sharpton, to all of these ghetto poverty pimps whose primary job is keep black people down and begging the government for everything that it gets and want to take whites down with it. And illegals and everybody else they can grab. They can't, they haven't had any luck getting the Indian population and getting the Jewish population and getting the Asian population. Y'all stay where y'all at. Don't deal with these Negroes. Stay away from them. Take my word for it. If these jokers come knocking at your door, you padlock it. You don't want to have nothing to do with the Democratic Party and make that quadruply 100% when it comes down to a black Democrat. And I know what people think. They try to compare conservatives to people like, Uncle Ruckus and all of these really extreme type of boot-licking type of Republicans or whoever they are. None of us are like that. There are some out there like that. There are some out there like that. There are some out there like that, and they are just... They're pitiful. But the rank and file, black conservative, as I told you last week, I worked in the penitentiary 5 years. Never saw one of them in jail. Not one. If you want to hire somebody, and you got the choice to hire a black conservative that says, I'm going to come up early, I'm going to leave late, I'm going to be the best employee that you have, I'm going to do my job better than anyone here, and I'm going to earn everything I get, and you're going to be glad you hired me. Or you're going to hire a black Democrat that walks in and say, if I show up late, you better not say nothing. If I leave early, you better not say nothing. I'm going to file a lawsuit. And while I'm here, I'm going to complain every day. I'm going to want to go. I'm a man that want to go to the women's bathroom, and I want to be rude, and I want to be crude, and I want to be disrespectful, and I want to come in here sagging, and I want to come in here with no etiquette, no manners, and you better say nothing to me, man. Who would you prefer to have? Every employer will tell you they prefer the conservative. And all these Democrats that tell y'all otherwise, tell you that you can go into these places of employment and walk up in there with that attitude. Now I'm going to come in, I'm going to do what I want to do. And if you try to stop me, I'm going to sue you. There are law firms all over this country that specialize in suing jokers for the violation of civil rights. And I'm sitting there behind the desk and I see you come in my office and I got to compare you with this person or that person. You ain't going to get the job. You're going to always keep a job as a working in the fields, working in the kitchen, doing something that's at the bottom and menial labor. Because those people will be the only ones that will have you. The people that achieve in America, and if you want a good concept and a good idea of what it is, you look at a football field. That's America. Social Darwinism. The strong survive. And they are respected, and they are revered, and they are lifted up on the shoulders of men. That's America. And Martin Luther King Jr. came here, and he was the first beta male in American history to ever become a hero and ever become lionized. He's the first joker in history besides Gandhi that got his butt whipped and had people say, now that there is a man. Change the definition of manhood about, it ain't about how much butt you can whip. It's how you take a butt whipping. And a lot of men rejected it. And they've been wandering ever since because he told that lie about Christianity. Told the world that real manhood was allowing somebody to beat the hell out of you. And on top of all of that, it hasn't worked for the black community, but it's worked very well for the Democratic Party. Because you know what, y'all? That's the same slave mind that worked on the plantation. Do what the masters say, lay down and get your ass whooped, and take it. And let all the rest of your people sit around and watch it happen. And the way that you get something from the masters, not by standing up like a man and looking him in the eye, but by bowing to him and letting him beat you till he gets tired. And then based on his pity, not because he respects you, because he pities you. And then acquiesce to your demand. And you walk around with your chest out like you've done something. Blood running all down your back, contusions and brain damage, like John Lewis walking around with brain damage. And all these civil rights leaders now, they walk around giving speeches about how they got their asses whooped and got spit on. And they ain't gonna walk up to a dude like me and think that I'm gonna applaud them for that. And they don't get anything from me except contempt. Begging and crawling to get into spaces of other men who despise you. That's why Donald Trump moved him out and put Churchill in. Compare Churchill to King. No, we will fight them. We will kill them. We will never surrender. To him dreaming about not being judged by the color of his skin. Shoot, man. Winston Churchill. Tore Hitler up. Bombing Britain. Hitler said, well, hell, they're going to bomb Britain. Let's bomb Berlin. Sent the Royal Air Force up there to take on the Luftwaffe and beat them down. Had the Americans come over. And from Great Britain, we launched the invasion of Germany. We launched D-Day from Great Britain because Churchill made sure that Great Britain was secure. While the rest of Europe had fallen, Great Britain was standing out there in an island nation by itself, with the English Channel separating it from the rest of Europe. And the Americans came over. And the British and the Americans launched an invasion across the English Channel. And that was D-Day. Winston Churchill stood up when all other European leaders had fallen. When the English army was on the banks of Dunkirk and Hitler was coming, they was going to destroy him. And the British didn't even have enough of the Navy to come save those 300,000 men. And guess what Churchill did? He told the English people, said, go across the channel. Go get those boys at Dunkirk and bring them back home to Great Britain. And he saved the whole army. And they lived to fight another day. And by the time Hitler got to Dunkirk, they were all gone. You see the movie Dunkirk, it talks about it. Compare that to Martin Luther King Jr. Now look at Great Britain. He saved it. Now Great Britain is gone woke and about to destroy itself unless somebody comes and corrects it. Churchill told them that was going to come. He told them. And then in World War II, when everybody wanted to go socially, he said, we have to get back to where we were before World War II. If we do not, we will not be the nation that we were before. But the best of the British Empire had died in World War II. And Britain slid down the path of socialism. And now it is a shadow of what it once was. Martin Luther King Jr. took America and Black America down that same path, socialism. And now Black America, many of the people in Black America can't take care of themselves. This is why these people are always arguing for more Medicaid, more Medicare, more SNAP, more Section 8 housing. Always more government handouts, because they know that they have made them, the black population in America, basically invalids, unable to sustain themselves in this great country. Oh, but there's a group, just like me, just like my brothers and sisters, like all of my friends, who say, we hot. I wouldn't walk around here asking you not to judge me by the color of my skin. Like I said before, if you don't like the color of my skin, that's your problem. You put your hands on me, you're going to have another one. My job is to love you, but I'm not going to beg you for your acceptance, man. So Donald Trump having the Martin Luther King Jr. monument or bust in the Oval Office beside him was incompatible. I'm glad he moved it out. I'm glad that he corrected that mistake of the first administration. And he wants to put people in the Oval Office that exhibit the mindset of true Americans, hunters, fighters, killers if necessary, standing up for freedom, never surrendering. So I'm glad the monument is gone. And I hope they pull up every monument of him in the whole United States of America. I hope it starts there. And I hope soon, maybe before I die, we might have a Martin Luther King Jr. junkyard with all these monuments of him end up being. And I'm going to keep telling you that because I'm here to wake you up. And I hope I did you some good today. So join me again for another edition of the Vince Everett Ellison Show. All right, friends, Vince Everett Ellison is here. I want you to go to my website, and on my website, you're going to see a lot of great stuff, man. You're going to see that we got t-shirts, we got caps, you got my books, my documentaries, you got all kinds of stuff on VinceSpeaksTruth.com. Go there. We're dropping new t-shirts, we're dropping new merchandise. My new book, The End of Tolerance, is there. The End of Tolerance. Make sure you get it, make it #1. If you got my first 3, get The End of Tolerance. It's just as good. And it's telling us we have to end our tolerance with these leftists, these Democrats. We can no longer allow them to sexually groom our children. We can no longer allow them to castrate little boys and call them little girls, run God out of the public square, take away our guns, take away our sovereignty. No longer allow it. So go on VinceSpeaksTruth.com. That is VinceSpeaksTruth.com. Hit merchandise. You'll see the t-shirts. You'll see the caps. You'll see the books. You'll see the documentaries. You'll see it all. And let's keep this ball rolling. God bless you.